This episode is brought to you by AAA Tree Service, your local experts in professional tree care. Whether you need routine maintenance, emergency tree removal, or storm cleanup, AAA has you covered. Proudly serving Bucks County, Montgomery County, and the Lehigh Valley, they've earned over 45 five-star reviews for their reliable and high-quality work. From tree trimming and stump grinding to land clearing and more, AAA offers the full range of services to keep your property safe and looking its best. And you can get started today with a free estimate by calling 215-910-0663. Or you can visit their website, AAATreeServicePA.com. Once again, thank you to AAA Tree Service for sponsoring this episode. Uh, 215 Sports Podcast. Happy OTAs Day. At the time of recording, the OTAs have started, but you'll be hearing this the day after OTAs start. So, but for you said Tyler, you said you want to show me an article real quick.
Well, yeah, and the fact that it is OTAs today, the start of them, day one, and I'll be looking at my phone progressively throughout the time we're recording just to see if there's anything that comes out with OTAs. Like, hopefully there's no bad injury update news, because I think that's when you're going to get to see or hear the first little bit of injury news, maybe regarding either Jahad Campbell or Nakobe Dean, potentially, whether or not he's going to be ready to start the season. Now, I'm not entirely sure. He's probably not going to be ready to start the season. I wouldn't think that would be a really quick recovery for an ACL tear. But this article I wanted to bring up, it's an ESPN article. I didn't check to see who it was written by, which I probably should have. But it lists the Eagles amongst the 3 least improved teams in the NFL this year. And here's what the headline basically is. 4,114 defensive snaps from 2024 are out the door, with defensive linemen Milton Williams, Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham, and defensive backs C.J. Garner-Johnson, Darius Slade Jr., and Isaiah Rodgers all leaving the team. They have young players waiting in the wings, but I expect a rocky start as they shake off the cobwebs. Their first 5 games is the Cowboys, Chiefs, Rams, Buccaneers, and Broncos. 5 potential playoff contending teams. Things could potentially get squirrely. What do you think about that, Andrew?
Absolute bullshit. Absolute bullshit. So we're talking about
buy into this article at all?
Darius Slay, who's like 90, who's playing his final year on the Steelers. I hate the Steelers, by the way.
I mean, hey, he's still
in the league, but he's not going to win shit with the Steelers.
Well, no, but he did play basically every single snap.
He played every single snap
last season.
So
yeah. You're losing.
But you got two young
snaps.
defensive backs with Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell, and you also drafted the safety out of Texas.
Yeah, Makuba.
Yeah, the defensive back situation is going to be fine.
I've seen that they're not going to give Makuba the straight-up job. They're going to have a position battle between Makuba and Sidney Brown. They're going to give Sidney Brown the start.
Yeah, Sidney Brown.
The nod to at least start in training camp.
That's what I heard when they traded Garner-Johnson. They wanted to give Sidney Brown a chance. But, the defensive back situation is fine. Milton Williams. Actually, no, we'll start with Brandon Graham, because Brandon Graham, you knew he was going to retire. There's nothing you can do about
especially
that.
with the injury that he had during the Super Bowl.
The torn tricep. The fact
would have been
that
really hard
back
for him to come back from that again.
Yeah. Milton Williams, I didn't think the Eagles were ever going to pay him. And then Josh Sweat. I mean, that's why you get replacements. And the Eagles have young replacements. Yeah, we haven't seen, the full potential out of.
I mean, they haven't really brought anyone in for the defensive line. You've brought in
kind of not, except
except
the draft
Campbell.
picks, except the draft picks, which we haven't
you've
seen them play.
Yeah, you brought in Campbell, and you brought in the defensive tackle from what was he from? Nebraska, right? Ty.
Yeah.
What was his name?
Little white boy from Nebraska.
Yeah. What was his name? Ty Johnson.
Ty Robinson or something.
Yeah, Ty Robinson. That's what it is. Ty Robinson. And they do expect him to, have a good NFL career, but can you really expect him to come in and produce like Milton Williams?
Obviously, he's not going to produce like Milton Williams in his rookie season.
No, so that's a downgrade.
He's not going to put up stellar numbers.
I know.
But
I'm just saying this is why they say it's the least improved, and I kind of see their point. Because whether you look at it or not, that's a downgrade.
Oh, yeah, the defensive line is definitely a downgrade.
Losing Josh Sweat and replacing him with a 7th-round draft pick that's an edge rusher and a hybrid player in Jahad Campbell that's not going to be rushing the passer probably every down. He's going to be used more of a pass rusher / linebacker. So you're missing 2 key production right there. That was what? From the 2 of them, 13 sacks last year, at least?
Yeah.
That's a clear downgrade. Nolan Smith, you don't know if he's going to be ready to start the year because of his torn triceps in the Super Bowl.
And
Dean's going to be hurt.
Yeah, he's hurt.
Like, dude, there's a lot of stuff going on here where maybe like they kind of do have a point. There might be potentially 5,000 defensive snaps from last season that might not be on the field starting week 1.
People that work at ESPN are retarded. I'm gonna say to Arsenal.
I don't agree with them because they do take a more national and a very broad
I think some of them are really,
view
really
on
stupid.
them. But I do kind of see the point to what this article is saying. You're replacing C.J. Gardner-Johnson, someone that when he was here was potentially the best safety in all of the NFL the 2 years that he was here, with someone that's never started or someone that's a rookie.
That's kind of like
a 2nd-round draft
That's like the
pick.
trade where I looked at my phone and I saw it. I was like, what the hell is he doing?
There is a lot of uncertainty. Like, you're also, like, you lost Darius Slay and Isaiah Rodgers. That's 2 cornerbacks. I understand that you have Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, but they both started for you last season. So that means you got Keely Ringo, and then who's the guy to replace Isaiah Rodgers? And we don't even know if Keely Ringo's going to pan out. Do you know if Keely? I don't know if Keely Ringo's going to pan out.
Keely Ringo going to plan out.
That's a downgrade right there too.
But did he say any downgrades about the offense?
No, he didn't say any downgrades about the offense.
But the offense is still very good.
You do have to expect that Saquon's not going to rush for 2,000 yards again.
I mean, he'll have a good season, but I don't think he's going to put up the same caliber as
they're not going to be
previous season he just had.
Like for him to potentially get another 2,000-yard season would kind of be unrealistic expectations for us to place on him, because I don't even know if there's ever been a back-to-back 2,000 rushing yard seasons by a running back since Ed Dickerson did it in the 80s, where you're getting like 500 rushing attempts per season. No, even more than that, because Barkley got probably 400 something. Ed Dickerson was probably getting 650 rushing attempts per season or something like that.
Yeah, Hurts has receivers. He's not going to give it to Barkley every single time.
So you do expect some regression from the running back standpoint at that point. So you're going to be, from that perspective, scoring less points due to your rushing attack. But I don't know. It's tricky. Because they're not saying that they're a bad team or anything like that in this article. The article is not saying they're bad, they're going to miss the playoffs or anything like that. They're just saying that they're among one of the least improved teams. And I understand that we have some bias here in Philadelphia, but I think we can all kind of look at what they're saying here and be able to see the point. Let's not be so homerish where we can't see the forest through the trees. You know what I mean? We need to take the big picture view on it.
All it is, though, is a projection. I could go on television or social media and say before.
But all the players that are going to be replacing these guys are just projections as well.
Yeah, but we don't know. We haven't seen that yet.
Right.
All we have to do is wait for week 1 and see what happens. But
it's unproven, and
it's unproven.
I wouldn't say that anything is an improvement.
For now.
Yeah, at least to start at this very moment. But I just wanted to lead off with that. It's a
projection. If I go on television and say Juan Soto is going to hit 365 with 55 home runs, and I look at his stats now and see how he's playing, I'd probably be the stupidest man on the planet.
But there's a reason why you give those projections for Juan Soto and you don't give those projections for a different type of player.
Exactly, because he's making $750 million.
Not only that, because of the product that he's been able to give you off his body of work. You don't just sit there and say that because of a $700 million contract, that's what he's going to perform. You say that based off of his previous body of work. That's why he
And
got the money.
He should be performing to that
Right.
caliber.
Right. But
And-
there is a reason why projections pan out, and usually projections kind of, for the most part, are relatively not too far off from what the actual realistic standpoint is. Projections for the Eagles last year, I'm pretty sure, were 12-5. They went 14-3. That's not that's not
only,
too far off.
That's only
two
a
games.
2-win improvement.
So, it's not really, I understand it's projections and you don't want to put too much faith in projections, but you do have to at least look at where the projections lie and be able to see, okay, there's a reason for why those projections are projected to be that way.
Sometimes it's sometimes projections hit and sometimes they don't hit.
Right, so but it's not like we're projecting for no reason. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, here's a projection. When the Angels signed Anthony Rendon in 2019, you thought they were going to – every fan thought, they were going to be building a star-studded offense.
Right, because he had Albert Pujols, you had Mike Trout, you had
that was probably his peak performance right there.
Wasn't there another good player that they had signed that offseason as well?
They had Shohei at that point.
Yeah, they still had Shohei at that point. But I thought they had brought in another big name that didn't pan out, that I'm not remembering at the time.
They brought in a lot of big names.
I know. Oh, Syndergaard.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, isn't that the offseason? Or maybe it was the offseason after that where they added Syndergaard.
Something like that.
And he had, he pitched for them for 2.5 years with a 5 ERA before he got traded to the Phillies.
Yeah. And look how that turned out.
Yeah.
He's terrible.
I understand. Projections you can't always count on, but there is a reason for why the projections look the way that they look when at the time of projecting. You could use the same argument in the negative way. Everyone projected that the Sixers were going to have the season of glory season of going to the Eastern Conference Finals, and look where they ended up.
Exactly. We were hoping for a top pick in the draft.
Exactly. So. And then you also have it the other way, where 2 years ago, what were the Oklahoma City Thunder projected to be? Probably a bottom-of-the-barrel team.
A bottom feeder.
And they ended up being, fourth in the Western Conference that year? Third or fourth?
They've completely turned it around.
So, those are outliers, though. If you look at the rest of the teams from those years of projections, you'll probably find that most of the other projections for the rest of those teams are kind of spot on where they actually finish in the table and stuff. Well, not in the table. I'm speaking soccer. In the standings. In the standings. So, I just don't want to completely rule this out because it's a negative article. Yeah. I just want people to realize that maybe let's not, if it doesn't go really good right away, let's not really dig too much. Let's not take
this the wrong way.
Yeah, let's not put too much into it where it's oh no, they're 2-3 after the first 5 games. Something's going wrong. Fire the head coach. Bench Jalen Hurts. We know that we do that all the time here in this city. Please, can we not do that and just give this team a little bit of time? There's a lot of, as this article points out, there's 4,000 plus snaps that are being replaced on the defense. It's going to take a little bit of time for those 4,000 snaps to fall into place for players to get where they are or where they're supposed to be, especially with so many young guys. I know that there's a lot of guys who are young who have been here, like the Sidney Browns, the Keely Ringos, the Eli Ricks, the wide receiver, Anaya Smith that got drafted last year. Especially on the defensive side, they added a lot of people last year, like Thomas Booker, Moro Ojomo. They are young guys that are expected to take a more, prominent role on this defense. And I know they've been here, so they should know the system. But let's also not discredit the fact that you need a very smart team to be able to run a Vic Fangio-style system because there's a lot of complicated moving parts around on every single defensive play where there's a lot of faking and there's a lot of misdirection that's happening that he really plays upon in order to get the results that he does. And that's going to be hard for some of these players to take in and execute every single snap when they were only used to maybe doing it 30% of the snaps the year before. They're now being asked to execute on 70% this year.
It tests them.
Yeah,
it's gonna test them.
Moro Ojomo played 20-something% of the snaps last year. Milton Williams played 71. So, you're asking him to potentially take a 50 or
50 to
45%
45
increase
to
in
50%
snaps.
increase in snaps.
Like,
yeah.
that's a really big step up in
It's just
responsibility.
going to be a test. We're just going to have to see what
Yeah.
this defense can handle.
Right. And I just don't want people to, like, if they start off bad out of the gates, like this article points out they potentially could, I don't want everyone in the city to now think that this team is off the rails and they have no shot and what are we doing here, blah, blah, blah. I still think they're going to be a good team. They're still projected to be a good team in the final standings. They're projected to win the Super Bowl right now, as for Vegas odds, at least. So no one's not giving them any credit.
It's not like
We're just saying, like, it might be a little shaky at first.
It's not like the 98 Marlins.
Right.
Where they completely sold off their entire team after winning the
97 World Series.
Yeah.
Yeah. They literally blew everything up.
And the GM for that team was Dave Dombrowski. So
He did the same thing.
he did the same thing.
No, he did the same thing with the White Sox when he won with the White Sox in 05 or 04.
He was part of the White Sox?
Yep, he was the
He was
GM of
part
that
the
White Sox team, I
I
believe.
was Red Sox, Tigers. I never knew he was White Sox.
Mm-hmm. I think he was the GM of that White Sox team.
I don't think he
Check
was
the 04.
GM 05 White Sox.
Yeah, what year did they win? 04 or 05?
It was 05. They won in 05.
Yeah, who was the GM? I thought it was Dave Dombrowski.
I didn't think it was Dave Dombrowski. I feel like it was Cardinals. Ken Williams.
Oh, okay, it wasn't Dave
Yeah, it was
Dombrowski.
Ken
I was
Williams.
wrong. Okay, my bad.
I was like, I thought Dave Dombrowski.
I thought Dave was with the White Sox for that one.
Expos, Marlins, Tigers, Red Sox.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm just confusing Red Sox and White Sox.
Probably
But-
because they both have socks in their
Well,
name.
yeah. But speaking of Phillies, this is a good time to transition right into the Phillies. I mean, speaking of baseball, whoa. I said speaking of the Phillies.
Speaking
it's a good
of the
time to
Phillies.
transition to the Phillies. I mean, speaking of baseball, this is a good time to transition to the Phillies. I can't talk today, dude. I don't know what the hell is going on with me.
Well, the Phillies did win 6 out of 7 on the road.
Exactly, 6-1 on the road trip, understandably against pretty bad teams.
I mean, when you're playing a
But-
team that's 9-45.
I mean,
and-
hey, they got to win since you left town.
We talked about them
So-
2 weeks ago, and they were, 7 and something? So
No, they had 8 wins going into the series, and I think they had 8 wins when we talked about them last week, and now they've got 9, which means that, hey, they beat a team after
Yeah.
the Phillies left town.
Yeah,
so,
they had
like, hey,
8. They had 8 wins going into the season.
some
Damn,
team,
man.
some team lost to them. I don't know who
They
the
really had 8 wins going into the series.
yeah
They're
they
9-45.
are not a good team at all, but.
That is
They did
so
what they were
upsetting.
supposed to do. They beat up on the bad teams.
Exactly.
You know? Took 6 of 7. Understandably, hard to win 7 games in a row, no matter who you're playing.
I do
So-
say that the Oakland Athletics, not Oakland, Sacramento, Las Vegas. Well, technically they're actually just called Athletics.
They're the Athletics, but they're
They
in
have-
Sacramento for the next, I think, 2 seasons after this one, up until the Vegas
Yeah, they're
Stadium is
playing
set
in
to-
Sacramento up until Vegas.
Yeah.
I will say though, the Athletics, they have a very good young core. Jacob Wilson, dude looked like a stud against the Phillies.
He did.
That guy, he has a very high batting average.
He does.
Uh,
It's like 350 something.
Nick Kurtz,
Decent.
good lefty first baseman.
Decent.
You still got Brent Rooker, huge power hitter. Lawrence Butler, they gave a contract to.
Yeah, and Lawrence Butler.
I haven't really seen a lot
2 of them are pretty good, I would say.
of the pitching besides Mason Miller, but I believe that the Athletics will improve in the near future, and who knows, they could even host a playoff game in Sacramento. I don't think it'll happen, but
I don't think it'll happen this season.
it won't happen this season, but it could happen maybe in like the final season. But
I don't know about host because I don't know if they're ever going to win the division. 'Cause
fair enough.
You got Houston in a down year right now.
If you get the number
and
4 seed in the wild card, you get to host a playoff game, though. But
yeah, that's true. You get to host
will Major League Baseball allow
one playoff game. Yeah,
a
that's
minor
true.
league stadium to host a playoff game? That's my thing. You think it would get moved to like neutral site?
There's no way they would move it to a neutral site.
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe they would move it to a neutral site. Because do you really think that they would want to see
14,000 people for a playoff game?
exactly, especially like when they cut to a home run and there's no one in the
There's-
outfield?
yeah.
because like there's no outfield.
There's no outfield
seats.
It's just grass.
Like, I do get your
They
point
relocated
there.
back to the Coliseum.
That probably won't happen.
No, yeah,
the Coliseum,
that won't happen. That's just a joke. The lease is
Yeah.
up for whenever the team moved out. But
depending upon if one team that maybe... Here's what I could potentially see. One of the teams that misses out in the NL West that's really good, that wants to capitalize on potentially making some money off of the Athletics by letting them use their stadium, would allow them to use their stadium for the playoffs if they wanted to. So hypothetically, let's say Arizona misses out.
or like San Francisco.
Right, or
That's
San Francisco
not
misses
far,
out.
That's not far from Oakland, so that place
Exactly.
would be packed with Oakland fans.
Yeah, so, like, I could see that potentially happening. I mean, there would obviously have to be some type of deal that would be in place before the playoffs start. I feel like this isn't something where it's like the playoffs would start and now all of a sudden, like,
Yeah,
oh crap, we got 10 days to figure this out.
I feel like this would happen even like before the season too.
Maybe not before. It might have happened before the season, just as that we didn't hear about it because it's not prominent.
Yeah,
at this point,
'cause nobody really expects the Athletics to make the playoffs.
Exactly.
With the way they're actually playing too. I mean, they look way better than they did the past couple of years, but you're gonna lose 11 straight games. Like,
yeah. But one thing I will say that is concerning is the fact that even against these teams where they're not good, just put it frankly, and these teams that they just played are not good, your bullpen still struggled. Like, Romano
yeah, Romano
almost
on
blew
Friday
the
night.
save.
He almost blew the save on Friday
Matt
night.
Strahm blew the save.
His velocity was down to like 92.
And, like, the thing is like, how much can we really expect of a workload to put on these guys before they get some reinforcements, and how effective are they going to be with that high usage? And also, does one of them get hurt in the fact that they've got some really tough
Decisions
weeks ahead? Like, they've got a tough, 15 games ahead. You're going to be playing
Atlanta,
and then
Milwaukee, Toronto.
And then I think you play the Nationals, and then Atlanta again.
So a couple more games against the Braves, who just got back Acuna.
Right. So you've got a decent next 5 series coming up strength-wise in your opponent. You're probably going to be having to use your high-leverage relievers pretty much every single game over the next 15 days.
Unless the starting pitching and the offense can,
right, exactly.
can figure their stuff out.
So
they only had to use their high leverage guys for one game against the Rockies.
Exactly.
Which is good.
And when they had to use them against the Athletics, you saw what happened. The Athletics punished them both games. They had to use their high leverage arms against the Athletics.
I don't think they used them one game, because Saturday night they used Kirkering, and that was it. Because who got the save on Saturday? Lazar. They used on Saturday.
Yeah, Lazar.
They used on Saturday Ruiz, Hernandez, Ross, Lazar.
Well, no, because
Kirkering.
Didn't they have to come back to win one of them in extras, and then they lost the other one?
They came back to win in extras on Saturday night.
Right. So so you almost blew that one. So who was pit? Like, you had a decent lead in that game, and the bullpen completely gave it up.
That game was back and forth.
That game was back and forth because of the bullpen. As soon as who started that game?
Christopher Sanchez gave up, I think, 3 runs, and then the bullpen gave up 3 more.
Yeah, because they were up 7-3, I believe, at one point, and then the bullpen.
No, I think it was closer than that. I know that.
Really? I thought they had a sizable lead at one point.
Friday night they had a 4-0 lead in the 9th inning. That's probably what you're thinking of.
Yeah, and then Romano almost blew it, and Tanner Banks had to come in and save it.
Tanner Banks,
I know,
for the rare save.
Well, because no one else was available, dude. Like, no one else was available. And if that's the case against the Athletics,
I hope that's not just him falling off again, but
if this is what the bullpen looked like against 2 series against Colorado and Oakland, how do you think they're going to look over the next couple series against Atlanta, Milwaukee, Toronto, Washington, and then Atlanta?
They're gonna have to improve. These fans are not going to accept the current bullpen situation they have, and even with Alvarado going to return in August, you still can't use him in the playoffs. So when you face a team like the Braves possibly in the playoffs, the fans are not going to accept the current situation. And they will need to get a high leverage reliever.
And dude, they need at least 2. And hopefully everyone, cross your fingers, stays freaking healthy. What happens if Matt Strahm goes... Dude, what happens if Matt Strahm is out for 2 weeks?
They have no lefties.
If Matt Strahm is out for 2 weeks, what do you do?
Your next lefty is
Tanner Banks.
Tanner Banks?
And that's your only lefty in the bullpen.
That's your only lefty.
Other than him right now, is Tanner Banks. I don't think you have a single other lefty in that bullpen.
Yeah, besides Strahm, it's Banks.
Yeah.
It would have been Alvarado, but...
Exactly. So, like, dude, what if Strahm gets hurt? What if Kerkering gets hurt? Or Romano gets hurt?
And then you're down to...
And you're down to Strahm and Romano.
Strahm.
You're down to Strahm and Banks and Kerkering.
Like, Ross.
Yeah.
Jose Ruiz.
Like, dude, we're potentially one injury away from this season completely going off the rails.
Because of the
bullpen.
And that's the thing that has affected the Phillies for every single season has been the bullpen. In 2020, it was the bullpen. In 2021, they had the most blown saves. In 2024, the bullpen against the Mets had an ERA over 11.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the bullpen is the defying factor in what makes or breaks the season, I feel like, for this ball club.
Now, the previous seasons before, it wasn't the bullpen's fault. The previous seasons before, it was the fact that the offense just couldn't...
22 and 23, the offense
stifled.
The offense just hit a stalemate in
Exactly.
the World Series and the Championship Series.
And not that they were great last year against the Mets, but they were at least like able to score. I think they were averaging 4 runs a game against the Mets. Like, so they were at least
the
like
bullpen's fault in
scoring
the playoffs.
runs.
But the Phillies bats also hit a stalemate.
Yeah.
They scored, I think, 2 runs in Game 3, 1 run in Game 4, then 2 runs in Game 1. Like,
so yeah,
that's 5 runs over 3 games.
And you're
in the playoffs.
You can't expect to win 3 games in which you're scoring under 2 runs or less.
Unless you're unless you're throwing a complete game shutout in 3 consecutive games, which is just not going to happen in the playoffs.
Like, the way that this is heading, and they need to make some type of... I would really like to see them make a trade sooner than later, especially if it's going to involve someone like a Mick Abel, because, like, trade him now while his value is high. If you already know you're not going to keep Abel around, because you need to have already made that decision by now. You have 7 starters and then plus Mick Abel. Like, you've got Ranger, you got Walker,
Nola.
You got Nola, you got Wheeler, you got Luzardo, you got Painter. And do you really need to have Abel vying for a spot in the rotation
when you can go get a reliever, and Abel already has experience, so if he gets traded to a team, I think that team will put him on the roster and
if he were
see
to
how
get
he does.
traded to a team, he's going to be on the major league roster probably to start his tenure there at whatever that organization is. And he might be potentially plugged in as like a 4th or 5th starter at this point in his career. With I think what I see from like the prospect rankings and stuff like that is they project him to maybe be a high end 2 or a solid 3, like his career wise, like.
Well, that's fine. Like, he's still a rookie. He's only made 1 major league start.
Exactly, and people might see that 1 major league start and be willing to overpay a little bit, thinking that the evaluation of him is maybe a little under what he actually can give you. So I just say, if you have already made that decision where he's not going to be part of the plans going forward, which is why you theoretically send him down already.
Yeah,
like
but
Aaron Nola,
it was only a spot start.
Right, exactly. But with how he performed, if you really had any intention of keeping him around, you're not keeping Taijuan Walker around. You would have kept him in the bullpen. You would have at least given this kid an audition.
Yeah, the
more
fact
than
that
just a spot start.
The fact that they just called him up for 1 start and sent him down.
Right, it's telling of the fact that like they don't have any plans for this kid, I feel like.
No, and the thing you got to do is you got to trade him now.
Right, so you trade him now while he's got high value. He just had 9 strikeouts in his MLB debut and went 6 scoreless.
6 fullest.
And he threw under 100 pitches. He threw 85 or 86 pitches. Like, he could have went out there and thrown another inning. If if
you're gonna just keep holding on to him, waiting, and not getting a reliever, and we're at the All-Star break, and the team is starting to decline because of the bullpen.
Mick Abel is not doing anything for this team right now.
He's not doing anything but just pitching in AAA.
Exactly. And if you have an injury, another injury to the rotation, guess what? You have Andrew Painter that you can just call up. So, like, don't act like, oh, no, we need him as we need him as injury protection, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, you already have your injury protection. And Aaron Nola's going to be coming back in, like, 2 weeks. You have your injury protection already. If you've already made that decision to not include Mick Abel in this plans for this team for this season, which it seems like they already have by the fact that he's back down in AAA, even if they told him, hey, this is going to be a spot start for you, and he came up and had that dazzling performance, if they had any intention on keeping him on this team or him having an impact this year, they would have kept him here. I understand they would have already told Taijuan Walker that he was returning to the rotation, but at that point, he's already pitched well in the bullpen. Keep him there. Let him get more further acclimated to the bullpen. Don't do this flip-flop thing with Taijuan Walker where you're, bullpen, and now rotation, and now bullpen, and now rotation,
what if it
and now
work?
Bullpen. And then it's like, dude, how many times do you want to ask this guy to reinvent himself during the season? Like, you're expecting a lot out of a guy that hasn't really given you a whole lot of productivity to really earn that faith that he's going to be able to just continue to flip-flop and change completely his season based off of whether he's in the bullpen or he's in the starting rotation. Because it completely changes how you pitch if you're coming out of the bullpen or if you're in the starting rotation.
If you're coming out of the bullpen in a 2-3-1 game,
yeah, it's a completely different
You have to preserve that lead. You're coming out starting.
Exactly.
It's a 0-0 game.
Not only that, you're guaranteed a clean inning every single time. Like, you're guaranteed a clean set of bases. You don't have to worry about being immediately in a high-leverage situation.
You don't have to worry about runners on second and third, one out.
Like, it's a different animal. Like, you're not sitting there going, I'm throwing every single pitch as hard as I can, because you don't do that as a starter. You're trying to go for longevity.
Although I don't think
innings.
that
You're throwing something as hard as possible.
I don't think that Walker would be put in a high-leverage situation, but, like, in the event that he was,
I mean, with the way that the bullpen looks right now, I honestly wouldn't put it past them. I mean, like, dude, Kerkering's got a 5-something ERA. Other than
Kerkering, I don't know what happened.
Your righties are Kerkering and Romano, high leverage righties
that have over a 5, 6, 7 ERA.
Do you think either of them are high leverage righties right now? You have to start exploring options within the bullpen that you already have for, like, a way to fix this. Because obviously, Romano ain't working out right now. He looked like he was coming back, and I understand it's just one performance, and hopefully he'll get back on the horse and he'll get back to his ways.
He's been very good this month. So.
Right, exactly. So hopefully that was just a hiccup for him, you know? He hadn't been used in a couple of days. They hadn't needed to use him in a couple of days. Maybe he was just a bit rusty. Okay, completely fine. That may have been the case.
It happens to everybody.
Exactly, that happens to everyone. You got, hey, if we were to take 2 weeks off from the show, come back in, we might be a little rusty with our analysis.
Yeah, exactly.
We might not really be talking about the things that are really important. We might be talking about some shit over in left field. So, it happens, you know? Like, so, maybe it could just be that, and I might just be reading too far into it. But with how he started to him blowing up, like, and it's the fact that it was against the Athletics as well. You had a 4-run lead against the Athletics, and you were able to get 2 outs. Well, you were able to get 1 out, and then the wheels fell off the bus, and then you got another out, and then the wheels started to fall off the bus again.
Home run,
and then you got the yank,
and then you have to bring in Banks.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just like, I don't know. They need to do something with this bullpen, and if you're not going to make Mick Abel a part of this team, if you're not going to make someone like, I hate to say this, Aiden Miller a part of this team, you need to trade them.
Aiden Miller a part of this team. Like, Dave Dombrowski's not going to trade his 2 biggest prospects, or his 3, 4, whatever biggest prospects. Because I know he wants to keep on to Tate. I know he wants to keep on to Painter, and the same thing with Andrew Miller.
Tate and Painter make sense to me. Same with Crawford. I see Miller as the odd man out, and I will tell you why.
Too much infield depth, you think, or?
Yep. Like, he is locked. It's in the same way that Otto Kemp is locked. Aiden Miller is also locked. Unless you find a way to trade away Alec Bohm.
Unless you don't sign him this offseason.
And if you trade away Alec Boehm, you're going to ask Aiden Miller to move from shortstop to third base when you have Otto Kemp, who naturally plays third base.
Or you're going to tell Bryson Stott, say, hey, go play third base, or Aiden Miller will play second, or Trey's going to play second.
Right, and then
doesn't make any sense.
And then, dude, Otto Kemp's been performing. How much, if you were to trade away Alec Boehm and then call up Aiden Miller instead of Otto Kemp, when Otto Kemp is the one that's been performing and having a stellar, spectacular season and naturally plays third base, what do you think that means for Otto Kemp? That means he's out the door, too. Aiden Miller doesn't play third base. Aiden Miller plays shortstop. Who's locked in at shortstop for the next 12 seasons?
Trey Turner.
The next 11 seasons.
All right, so
Trey Turner. He's got no path to get up here unless you move Trey Turner.
Right now he's got his 654 OPS in AA.
And where are you going to move Trey Turner to?
I don't know, second base, center field. You're just not going to move him out of his primary position.
Yeah, I mean, all right, potentially you could move him to center field, but then what do you do when you have Justin Crawford?
Exactly.
Because Justin Crawford's going to be ready to come up probably before Aiden Miller will.
What are you going to do? Wait till Kepler's contract runs out? Wait till Castellanos' contract runs out? Move him to left or right field?
Are we going to continue to do a defensive musical chairs with Trey Turner at this point? There's an odd man out here somewhere.
We're going to continue our pool of platoons.
Yeah, and someone's going to have to get the boot. Someone's just going to have to get the boot. There's too many people that are all good at the same things, that all play the same positions on the team. They're
contract.
They're too good in the infield and too lacking in the outfield for you to not get rid of an infielder for an outfielder.
He's got arbitration.
Or they're too good in the starting pitching department right now for you to not be able to go out there and make a move for a reliever. These are the things that Dave Dombrowski needs to realize, and I'm sure that he does realize this. It's just I would like to see a little bit of urgency, and I haven't even heard anything on any type of rumors outside of BS Facebook account posts.
I get them all the time.
Other than that, I haven't seen any reputable source at all talk about any type of trade potentially, or even talks of a trade happening with the Phillies right now.
I've seen a few Instagram posts that say they might get Ryan Helsley.
But have you seen anything from Jeff Passan? Have you seen anything from any reliable source?
Nothing from Passan or Rosenthal or
Buster Olney or Tim Kirkjian,
John Heyman
or any of them. Have you seen any? No. Carl Ravitch, frickin' anyone that covers baseball. No, there's nothing.
Yeah,
which leads me to believe that there's nothing for them to talk about because there's no talks that are going on. If there was a talk going on to replace the dude that just got suspended for 80 games, that's the hot topic of baseball right now. If there was already talks to replace him going on, don't you think some type of outlet would have at least reported a rumor at this point?
I think so. It's been over a week.
Exactly. I don't even see a rumor out there, which means that they're not even calling. There's no talks that are happening, which is absolutely general manager malpractice, in my opinion.
I don't know if Dombrowski is banking on Romano, Banks, Kerkering. Clearly, you're banking into fucking bankruptcy with the way that they're performing as of right now.
So, I understand that maybe you don't want to trade away your prospects and go all in because you don't want a repeat of 2011 and 2012.
You don't want to repeat of where they traded all their prospects and now they're stuck with...
go all in with the players, and then that didn't pan out, and then once they sold everyone off, they were horrible for 10 years. I understand that you don't want to put the team in that position, but you don't need to put the team in that position to really put together a very competitive true World Series contender this year. You can trade away Mick Abel and Aiden Miller and bring in two very, very good players. One for the bullpen and one for your outfield. Because you need outfield. You don't need infield at this point. You have Bryce Harper, Bryson Stott, Trey Turner, and Alec Boehm as your infielders. Okay?
I'm not going to rely on Brandon Marsh. 2 runners on, 2 outs in the playoffs.
Exactly.
With a base hit, could score 2 runs and they take the lead in the 8th inning. I'm not going to rely on Brandon Marsh to do that.
And also, this team is way too bad defensively to have bad bullpen pitching. All right? I looked up the defensive metrics on some of the advanced advanced defensive numbers and stuff. And one of the ways that the advanced stats is the, runs saved, like the plus minus runs, defensive runs saved, right?
Yeah, Phillies are I saw it on Instagram. I think Phillies are bottom,
20. They're 28th.
Yeah, they're bottom.
They're the third worst in the league.
Team in the league.
Did you know they don't have a single player
with a
positive defensive run scored rating? Not a single player. Even the players that you think would be rated, hey, they're pretty good at defense, like Bryson Stott and Johan Rojas, are a -1. And those are the two highest defenders on this team. The next highest is JT at a -3.
Yeah.
And that's because he's had 2 really bad throws from catching to second base that have led to people scoring directly off of his defensive play, plus the pop-up that he missed the other night.
Yeah, that was just...
Dude, what wow. Come on.
I mean, that's routine.
How many times do they teach you when you are little 2 hands to catch the freaking baseball?
That's a routine play. I mean, 31 out of 30 catchers make that play.
Dude, if anyone is attempting to catch a ball with one hand and the ball comes out of their glove, I don't care how hard the ball is hit or what angle it went into your glove on. If you had your second hand on your glove, you would have made the freaking catch.
Yeah, that's how it works. Literally, we were taught that.
That's what you're taught from literally the earliest age. When you have a catch with your father, how does he tell you to catch the ball with your glove when you're 6 years old? Does he tell you to catch it one hand? No. 2 hands.
2 hands.
What are we doing? You guys make $25 million. You can't remember to put 2 hands on a freaking glove to catch a baseball?
It's just a silly mental mistake. And, I mean, that silly mental mistake cost the Phillies 2 runs.
Cost the pitcher more pitches. Cost more stressful innings. Costed your bullpen more stress.
I get it, they won the game, but still, you
exactly. It's a principle.
You can't make that kind of stupid mistake.
You did that against the Athletics, and that's why you didn't get punished for it. If you did that against a team like the Dodgers or the Mets or someone that can actually make you pay for making those types of mistakes.
Imagine if JT just did not catch the pop-up against Acuna, and then he hits a 3-run home run.
Thank God what happened after that was it was just a single. Can you imagine if you were playing the Braves? That could have very easily been a home run right after that, and then it's a tie game.
A home run, extra base hit.
If he gives up a home run right there, after that, it's a 3-3 game. It's a tie game. They might not win.
Especially since, who was pitching at that point? What? Carlos Hernandez?
Yeah, Carlos Hernandez was pitching, dude.
And the least trusted reliever on this team.
So, I don't know. They need to do something, and you see certain areas of the team where there's a surplus of talent and certain areas of the team where there's a depreciation in talent and there's clearly a drop-off in the talent level. And it's why don't you just take from your positions of surplus to balance out all the negatives that you see? But they're not doing that. And by all the indications from all of the reports, by the fact that there are none, is that they aren't even trying to. So I don't know if they're waiting for a market to open. I don't know if there's just no market right now because we're just too early on in the season. But there are teams.
Trades are allowed to happen.
There are teams
early in the season.
There are teams that are out of it. There are teams that already have no inclination of making the playoffs. And you mean to tell me you can't find a single guy on any of those teams to make a difference here? They're all filled with major league players. It's not like
they were good enough to make the
exactly.
Major leagues.
It's not like you're going to be taken from your AAA team. You're going to be taking from someone that is a major league talent.
You're telling me the Pirates at what the hell is the goddamn record? You're telling me that the Pittsburgh Pirates at 19-36 still have a chance to make the playoffs?
No,
they don't.
Dude, I'm not even going. Dude, why don't you give Texas Rangers a call? They were in the World Series when? 2 years ago?
They are 26-29.
You don't think that they might want potentially a shakeup to the team? Maybe not something where it's like a complete subtraction, but it's something where it's like a lateral move to like get things going.
I mean, the only thing I can see them doing,
like maybe trading
is,
Alec Boehm for a bullpen arm.
I feel like that,
something along those lines.
I feel like that they'll still try to compete.
Oh yeah, that's why I'm saying
they're still gonna try to compete.
That's why I'm saying don't make a move for Texas that's going to just be a downgrade. You make a laterally successive move where you trade away something that you have.
Or it's like a win-win trade for both sides.
So let's see. Who do they have playing third base?
Josh Young.
Okay, he's a young guy. They're probably not going to take him out of playing third base.
No, he kills lefties.
So who do they got in? Who do they have starting pitching wise? I know we gave them frickin' Spencer Howard.
Yeah, that dude never turned out.
That dude ended up being a doo-doo piece of
he never
baby diaper. So, like...
starting pitching. Eovaldi, DeGrom.
Is DeGrom healthy?
Oh, yeah, DeGrom's killing it this season.
Okay.
This dude's got like a,
so you got
dude's
Eovaldi,
got like a 2 ERA.
DeGrom. Do they still have Montgomery?
Tyler Malley's got a 1.80 ERA.
Do they still have Montgomery? Or is he gone?
No, he's on the Diamondbacks.
Okay, he's on the Diamondbacks now. Yeah, he's on the Diamondbacks.
Dude's completely washed.
He's got like a 6 ERA or something like that, right?
Yeah, he won't pitch until like 27. He's got injuries. Patrick Corbin has a 3.75 ERA.
For who?
Texas.
Patrick Corbin's on Texas now?
Patrick Corbin.
The dude that had like a 7+ ERA for like 9 seasons over here for the Washington Nationals.
Yeah.
Has a sub-4 ERA
the
first
ERA.
year of being on a new team. Like, wow, how much a change of scenery can actually freaking help a player.
Hobie Milner's got a 3.04 ERA.
Who is that? Is that their 5th starter?
No, he's a bullpen guy. And he used to pitch for the Phillies.
But,
he had like this funky windup. He was a lefty.
I don't even remember the name.
Shitty player during the dog days. Before.
But, like, yeah, so, all right, that's 4 starters right there. They need it.
They still have Jack Leiter. He's got a...
Okay, Jack Leiter.
4.10 ERA, throws like 100, but he's like their top prospect.
But you couldn't tell me that they wouldn't potentially make a trade for a starting pitcher that we have here to increase their odds of making the playoffs. Because they could very easily win. The AL West is wide open this year.
Yeah, I don't see the Astros are declining. The Angels will always be the Angels. The Athletics...
The Athletics are
young, but nothing promising.
Exactly.
Yet.
So the only 2 teams that really have a shot other than Texas is Seattle and Houston. And Seattle, it's the proverbial they can never hit, even though they are hitting this year. Like they've actually done a really good job tearing the cover off the baseball so far this season. It's just, is that really going to keep up throughout an entire season at Safeco Field? Probably not. You're not going to expect that, especially when they haven't shown you. All they've done when they've been in winning positions is collapse down August and September to lose the division. Like,
we've seen it.
Exactly.
We've seen it happen.
A couple years ago, they were in first during the All-Star break. They collapsed.
What was this, like 23 or 24?
Yeah, they collapsed and then made the playoffs by 1 game that year. They were in first place at the All-Star break. They made the playoffs by 1 game on the last game of the year, and lost straight away to Houston.
Oh yeah, this was 22.
Yeah,
this is 22.
Before that, when they had Robinson Cano on the team back in like 2018, for literally 2/3 of the season they were in first place, and then they collapsed in August and September and missed the playoffs. Like, this is something that the Mariners have been proven that they do all the time. So if I'm Texas Rangers and I'm sitting there and I see them in first place, this division is wide open right now if they're in first place.
Oh, yeah. Same with, like, the NL East, too.
So,
wide open.
Exactly. So you mean to tell me that Texas wouldn't potentially subtract an arm from their bullpen to improve their starting rotation? Or maybe they wouldn't. Like, I'm not entirely sure about their outfield situation or their infield situation, but you have players that you could move around in the infield. You could potentially trade Alec Boehm. You could potentially trade Aiden Miller. You could potentially trade away who's the other shortstop in the system that's other than Aiden Miller.
Other shortstop in the system.
Or no, he's second base. Arun Escobar.
Oh, Arun Escobar.
Arun Escobar.
He's still in Clearwater.
Right, but he's a pretty high rated. Same with Eduardo Tate. He's the 5th rated prospect, but he's
only 18.
He's in Jersey Shore.
He's in Jersey Shore.
Right. But he's a high rated prospect. I think it's the same with Arun Escobar. He's top 8.
Yeah, dude's still got plenty. They still have plenty of years ahead of them in the minor leagues before they actually get called up to a big league roster and make a difference.
They have to be able to make some type of trade. They need to be able to find some type of trade partner that you can work out a deal like that with. Someone, because at this point in the season, it's going to have to be a unilateral move perceived 100%. For both teams. No team is going to sell off anyone this early
If they don't make a trade, this freaking season's going to go to shit.
Yeah.
It's going to fall off harder than going down King Ka.
And you don't need to get a good player from a bad team and where they know you want their good player because you are devoid of that talent and you need to overpay.
You can make a reasonable trade that's win-win for both sides.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. And I don't even know if that is a thought process that's going on in the Phillies organization right now, or if I don't even know if that's a thought process that even goes on in baseball anymore, period. Because you don't see trades like that happen in baseball like that anymore.
You're not going to see the Yankees and Dodgers trade.
Well, not even that. It's just how often do you ever see a trade for an MLB player and an MLB player anymore?
Rarely.
It doesn't happen.
Rarely.
Or an MLB player for a prospect that's ready to come up and just play right away. Those types of trades don't happen in the league anymore.
Unless you're trading for a superstar.
Right. It's all I'm selling off my player who's going to give me the highest value for it. That's basically all the trading has come down to now in this league. There's no proactive oh, you need help here obviously in this area. We have a surplus in that area. Let's work out a deal and where this can be mutually beneficial for both teams. You're telling me there's not a single team out there out of the 29 other teams in the league that you can make a unilateral trade with?
Probably 15, probably half of the league.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. And we haven't heard anything, which is why I'm saying this is GM malpractice.
I agree with you.
Because if they were doing something, we would have heard it.
We should probably start focusing more on a trade. And since we haven't heard anything, granted, it's only been a week since it happened, but
they need bullpen help before that, though.
Exactly. And you're going to need bullpen help before the playoffs. I mean, I don't want 2 months of a good reliever. I want 4 or 5 months of a good reliever.
As I've said, you'd rather be proactive about something like this. Don't wait for one of your guys to get hurt because you've been forced to use them so much.
Don't be sitting on the couch with Ryan Kerkering at 60 appearances by the All-Star break.
Exactly. Right. You need to be proactive about this. The more you wait on this, the longer it's going to hurt the team in the long run. You need to do something about this as quickly as possible. Because those bullpen arms obviously have shown you they need reinforcements.
They cannot get the job done.
And the ones that have been getting the job done, get the job done in spots. They don't get the job done consistently, which means they need rest in between their appearances to make sure they're tip-top for every time they go out there. You can't have... Dude, do you expect NLDS? You got 3 games back-to-back? Boom, boom, boom. You really expect Ryan Kerkering, Matt Strahm, or anyone in the bullpen right now to be able to go out all 3 games and get you through a clean inning? In all 3.
They're going to need at least 1 day of rest.
Exactly. You need one reliever that you can count on for a 3-game stretch. Every game I throw you out there, you're going to give me a result.
Literally just a series.
Yeah.
All you need is just a reliever that can pitch consistently in a high leverage spot for 1 series.
Right, and they don't have that. You have someone that can do that for what appears to be a game.
For maybe 2 games a game.
Right, for a spot, for a spell here and there. Not for, that's what you're expecting out of them.
Yeah. But it is what they're expecting out of them. They paid.
Right, that's what they're expecting. But is that what any of us are expecting out of them? No. Is that even what the players themselves are expecting out of themselves at this point?
He got paid $9 million.
Do you really think Ryan Kerkering at this point is telling himself that he's going to have 3 shutout performances in a row? Like, you have to remember, these guys are human beings. Like, they have +5 ERAs. That has to do something to you when you're 45 games into the season.
They're not robots. Like,
exactly. You've made 23 appearances already this season. You've got a 5+ ERA. Something ain't going right. Like, that plays on a player's mind. Like, as much as we like to sit here and think that it doesn't, like, they are human beings. If you're having a bad time at your job, aren't you more self-conscious about the work you're going to be doing the next day?
Exactly.
Like, if I were to go in to, like, hypothetically speaking, if I were to go into Five Guys and I were to mess someone's order up and have to refund them, that means I'm going to be on my best behavior now the rest of the day to make sure that don't happen again.
Exactly. Like you see it with Juan Soto too. Like,
yeah.
He's a human being. All right, he doesn't do a stupid little shuffle after he takes a ball.
Exactly.
Aaron Judge hit the ball. I think it was going foul or whatever, but it somehow landed fair. Had like a 116 xBA. He's just jogging to it.
Yeah, I saw that.
At 29 out of any person with a glove in their hand that has legs can make that catch. Dude probably could have caught it in his damn mouth and it would still be out. Like,
I was seeing the argument that maybe he thought that it was going to go foul, but
I'm
it
guessing,
clearly was going to go fair the entire time. It was not close to being foul.
I don't know if he was looking at something else, but I don't know.
But they have to do something. They need to be proactive about this. Like,
yeah, they got to do something. If I come in and see the Phillies, if I watch the game tonight,
like, dude, God forbid something happens in the game tonight where someone in the bullpen goes down before you make a trade. You don't want to have...
Now you're screwed.
Yeah, because not only that, like, think about this. From a GM perspective of other teams, are you going to charge the Phillies more now or after one of their relievers gets hurt? Because they're going to be more desperate, so you know you can charge a higher price for whoever they want.
Yeah, do something now.
You do something now before it becomes a major issue.
Good point about that game. I mean, you'll see the result of the game will be tomorrow, but like, so the result of this game will be over by time. But if you come into this game, say Joe Ross. Ross comes into the game and Acuna is batting and he throws first pitch right down the middle, like the same pitch that Acuna got on Friday night. First pitch. Home run coming back from an ACL tear that usually about a 14 to 16 month repair hits a home run on the first pitch. First of all, that's a great way to return to baseball. As much as I hate Acuna, I mean, that's an electric return. I mean, Nick Pivetta just threw him a pitch right down the middle. Of course, it's Nick Pivetta too, out of everybody.
Who's actually had I'm surprised he's been able to like bounce around to all these teams.
Nick Pavetta's actually had like a decent career. I mean, he just got himself a contract from the Padres.
Well, he had a couple of decent years up in Boston, didn't he?
Yeah, he had a couple of
decent years up in Boston. The only one from that touted prospect rotation that I believe is no longer in the league is Eichhoff, right? All the rest are still bouncing around from team to team.
I think Vince Velasquez is not playing anymore.
Okay, yeah, maybe Vince Velasquez. Last time he was playing was with Padres, I believe, right?
I seen a AAA highlight. I don't know who to home run, but I think it was Marsh hit a home run in AAA off Vince Velasquez.
Oh, see, look, so he's still bouncing around. Yeah, he's still Pavetta's still bouncing around. Eflin's still out there.
Yeah, Eflin's on the Orioles.
The only one that really didn't pan out, not just here, but anywhere, was Eichhoff.
Yeah, Eichhoff.
Because those were the big four of those dog days years of them being awful.
That was the dog days, Cliff Lee, Roy Halladay, Roy Oswald, and who was the fourth guy?
Hamels.
Oh, Cole Hamels.
Yeah.
Dude,
after those four, you had the next big guys were those guys, Vinny V.
Yeah, literally.
Dude, remember Vinny Velo was his freaking...
Yeah, Vinny Velo.
Because he could throw 96 or 97 or something like that.
I think the max he hit is 92 now.
So you had Vince Velasquez, dude, let's just be happy we don't have that to look forward to every night on the baseball field.
We had to do with Vince Velasquez every 5 days.
We've
Jared
had to deal
Eichhoff.
with some really bad teams.
And then the fifth person was Nola, who's still around.
Yeah, he's still here. But man, just think about that. All those guys that we were dude, they suck. They're never gonna be good. They kind of all stuck around.
They all. which is impressive.
Really surprising. I don't think any of us expected that. I think we all kind of expected once they left the Phillies that they would kind of be out of the league, because that's kind of what happened to a lot of the players at that time. Like Jeremy Hellickson, once he left, he was out of the league.
Jeremy Hellickson.
Jake Arrieta, once he left, he was out of the league.
I was just about to say Jake Arrieta.
There were plenty of other guys that didn't pan out as well.
Oh, 100%.
There was someone else that made a couple opening day starts for them. The
only person I can feel panned out was like Zach Eflin, just because he was able to pitch into the postseason.
Well, he was the only one that panned out for the Phillies. I would say overall,
him and Nola were the only ones that panned out.
Pivetta still panned out because
just not for the Phillies.
Right, he just panned out because he was a part of the. Was he a part of the 2022 the 2021 Red Sox when they won it? Or
the Red Sox didn't win in 21.
No, in 2018.
He made it to the playoffs with the Red Sox in 21, and that was it.
Right. Was he on the 2018 team or the 2019 team that won the Red Sox?
He was on Phillies.
Okay, he was on the Phillies still at that point. But yeah, I mean, that's crazy that they've been able to stick around for as long as they have.
I could go on for time and time naming Phillies pitchers, but yeah, we ain't got the time for that.
And we ain't got too much time left in this recording, so you want to talk about the Union and some of this soccer stuff for the last little bit? We probably got, 15 minutes left, and that's it?
Yeah, got about like half an hour, so.
Oh, really? We got a half hour left? All right, well, here, let's dive into the Union a little bit. Usually, the Union have been very, very good with spoiling us the past, 3 weeks. And they did a very good job keeping that up again this week by having 2 good games, even though one definitely didn't.
Yeah, one definitely didn't go their way.
One definitely didn't really feel like it. It still was at least not a loss, in which he still picked up a point.
He still picked up a point. You're still first place in the league, but
exactly.
You blow a 2-goal lead with.
And it doesn't feel good, but
you blow a 2-goal lead in the 87th minute.
Yeah. I know. So, I was reading the match report, and it said that the 2 goals that Miami scored to get a point happened over a span of 7 minutes.
Yeah, you just can't let that happen within the last 7 minutes of a match.
Come on, man.
You were 7 minutes away from 3 points.
And not only that, they had to score twice to take that away from you. It wasn't just they had to score once in those 7 minutes. They had to score twice in those 7 minutes.
Yeah, which is the crazier thing.
And that's just holy crap. I know Miami's a good team, but they weren't really playing well the past couple of games. They had lost 3 out of the last 5 games, I think, going into it.
They're not playing really well.
No, they lost 5 of their last 7, actually, going into that game.
Yeah, they're on a winless streak.
Yeah, so coming into that game, they hadn't won in 3 matches. I think the match before that was a draw. It wasn't even a win. I don't think they had any wins over the past 5 matches. It was 3 losses and 2 draws.
And drawing.
So, they really, really missed an opportunity to pick up 3 points. They missed out on 2 more points.
Against a struggling Miami team.
Right, which is not really, I know Miami is a good team, but, you had the upper hand in that game, and you had the opportunity to take all 3 of those points, and the fact that you lost it to a team that you could potentially end up fighting for a playoff spot with, or fighting for the supporter shield with later on in the season. Because I always forget with the MLS that they have the transfer window, the European transfer window, right in the middle of the season.
Mm-hmm. So it's weird.
Yeah, this is not the final team for anyone right now.
And then the winter transfer window is in their off season.
Well, yeah, exactly. But so this is whatever teams are being rolled out right now is obviously not the finished product of what you're going to see for the playoffs.
Messi joined halfway through the season.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to have players and players want to play with Messi, especially players towards the end of their career. That, who was the dude that came over from Barcelona after Messi came? Aguero, right? Or no.
Alba and Busquets.
Yeah, Alba and Busquets. And who was the striker? The Argentinian striker. The guy that bit people. What was Luis Suarez?
Yeah, Luis Suarez.
Yeah, Luis Suarez. All of them came just to play with Lionel Messi. You don't think that
you got me thinking about Aguero.
You don't think that Miami is going to get more types of those players to come and play with him?
Yeah, they're going to want to get
in
10 talent.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's a team that's going to improve probably pretty vastly once that transfer market opens. And you missed an opportunity to pick up head-to-head points against them. Like, that's huge.
Because imagine if that costs them in, like, the long run.
Exactly. What if you come down to the final, like, especially because ties happen in soccer all the time because it's points. Ties in the standings.
Yeah.
Happen all the time because it's all points-based. It's not based off your record. It's just how many points did you get to. And you could get so many points from so many different combinations of outcomes, right? So a couple years ago, there were like 4 or 5 teams for the Premier League that all had 49 points that were all fighting for the number 1 spot during like Christmas Day or something like that. It usually doesn't happen over the course of an entire season, but you see it all the time in relegation races where towards the end of the season,
the teams are at 26, 28, and 28 points.
Right, or you might have 3 teams that are all at 28 points, but only one of those 3 is going to get relegated. And it's like, you don't want to have that position here, but at the top of the table, where it's like you and Miami are potentially tied with the same amount of points for the Supporter Shield, and because you didn't beat them in head-to-head,
they'll get the advantage.
Well, not that they get the advantage, it goes now to the next tiebreaker.
Yeah, it goes to the tiebreaker, and
which
the tiebreakers.
Exactly.
Then it goes to the goal difference.
Right, and you don't want to have to rely on tiebreakers to win you your season. You want to rely on head-to-head appearance because, hey, if you can just beat them, then you showed that you were better. But you don't want to have to rely on...
You couldn't win against them.
Oh, no, did I score more goals than they did? Shit. Because I think that's the plus-minus goal differential is the next one.
Yeah.
And then if you have the same plus-minus, it's goals for, I believe. So, you just don't want to get into that type of position, but they still picked up at least a point, so not completely bad, not complete loss. It just feels like a gut punch when they really should have won.
Yeah, 1 point is better than 0, but
they did at least...
You got to get them 3.
Move on, however, in the U.S. Open Cup, beating Pittsburgh, who obviously is a USL team, so you kind of
expect that, it's like...
You kind of expect them to handle their business right there.
Premier League versus Championship.
Right, but, hey, you still got to play the game.
Exactly.
You see it all the time in the FA Cup, where team like Millwall will beat,
Manchester United.
Right, and it's like, how did that happen? But, it does happen. So, they at least took care of their business there, and Ty Baribo has looked freaking fantastic just the entire season.
I saw
basically.
He scored 2 goals against Miami.
Yep, so that was his 3rd brace of the year. He's got 3 braces. He's got 1 hat trick already this year. So my man has been locked in all freaking season so far.
All season, yeah.
And he's now 3 goals ahead of the guy in second place. And who is it in second place? Brian White? Yeah, Brian White. And he's got 10. So that's a pretty good position to be in this early up. This early on in the season, you're already 3 goals ahead in the Golden Boot race. That's pretty nice.
Always nice to have
pretty good.
Someone of that caliber who can score a lot of goals for you. So.
Yeah, exactly. And the way that he's playing, right, he's definitely going to be on that World Cup team for Israel. The way he's playing right now.
Yeah, 100%.
If
they even make the World Cup.
I think they may have already qualified. I know a couple of places have already had their qualifiers and stuff like that.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what teams have qualified except United States, Canada, and Mexico.
I'm not entirely sure if Asia Minor has done theirs yet, because I think that's the territory that they're part of. But I think Africa has already has a couple of people that are set to.
Yeah, right now USA, Mexico, Canada, Argentina because they won. New Zealand, Iran, Japan.
New Zealand, Iran, and Japan. Okay, so that's from the Asia, Asian market.
That's the Asian.
Okay, so Mexico, Israel has not qualified yet from Asia because I believe Israel is considered football-wise, soccer-wise, part of the Asian Football Federation. I don't think it's part of.
Yeah, because there's 48 teams in the World Cup.
Yeah, and I think they might even expand it to 64 the next time that it comes around. Or no. That's the Champions League. They're expanding that, I think, to 64 teams.
The Champions League, they did think they switched it to 36 or something like that.
So maybe it is the World
Yeah.
Cup. I saw something was getting expanded to 64 teams.
Oh, that's
so
weird.
maybe it is the World Cup in 2028, right?
It might be the
Or no, in 2030 because this one happens in 2026.
yeah, I don't
right?
know.
I thought I saw the possibility that FIFA was like floating that
It
around.
says where
but-
is the final 2026 FIFA World Cup draw? Wait, what? When is the final?
the draw, like the
groups.
the draw
Oh,
for
dude,
the
I'm
group stage.
stupid.
And
I was
stuff
like,
that.
where is
yeah.
the? I thought.
No,
they
no.
were- Yeah,
I mean, like the
final.
drawing for like the group stage and like who every team's
Yeah,
gonna play
I thought it was
in like
for I thought
the
it was
round
for
robin
the
stuff.
final.
No,
Oh. Yeah, I'm kind of stupid there.
but
We'll have our groups in December.
yeah. One thing I do want to bring up though is I feel like for the most part the Union haven't really missed Andre Blake since going down with injury, but they definitely missed him against Miami because the guy that's been filling in for Andre Blake has been 19-year-old Andrew Rick, who supposedly has a very high upside, right? And he's had some really good saves. He's had some flashes of really good performances, but personally, I mean, this is not based off the report of the game. This is just on my own evaluation from watching some of the highlights from the game. Andrew Rick did not have a very good game against Miami. There were 5 shots on goal. He made 1 save.
So that's
not very
that
good.
20% rate.
Yeah, that's not. Put it comparatively the other way. The LA goalkeeper, I'm not entirely sure what his name is, saved 5 out of 8 shots on goal.
So that's what, 70%?
So that's like a 66.7%.
Actually, LA goalkeeper. Wait, are we talking about Galaxy or
Wait, no, Miami. My bad. I don't know why I said LA.
I was like, what are you
Miami.
talking about,
Yeah, because LA is Hugo Lloris. Yeah,
I was gonna say,
I know that he's out now. I don't know
Lloris
why
is,
I said LA.
Lloris is
I don't know why I said that.
LA, yeah.
But yeah, Miami.
Great calendar. So he got some.
No idea who that is.
Nah.
But he made 5 saves. Like,
Oh, he's only played 3 matches for the season.
yeah, and he made 5 saves on 8 shots on goal. Like,
he's got a 70% completion rate or something.
Yeah,
like
to Andrew Rick's 1 of 5. Like, I mean, you gotta give me better than that. Like, you gotta give me better than 20%, dude. Come on. Like, and then I saw one of them. One of them, well, not I saw one of them. I saw all of them, like all the goals. But one of them, I feel like he definitely should have made the save on it. And I don't know
he made a Sports Center. He made a Sports Center top 10 save.
Who?
Drake Callender.
Yeah, no, he
Union.
played phenomenally against the Union, dude. Some guy I've never heard of. He had a really good game, and it really made me look at Andrew Rick and be like, dude, you like kind of played like shitty.
Yeah,
this
now
game.
now
like,
he can flex and be like, oh, I'm on Sports Center and you're not.
Yeah, like not even that's like the big thing here. It's just like this was the first real instance in where I was like, oh wow, Andre Blake's not in goal, and it's clear that Andre Blake is not in goal, and like it's like clearly like these guys are not close.
It's clear
right
that
now.
they need him back in goal.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how the Phillies need their bullpen to pay it up.
Yeah, like in that similar aspect, yeah. Like he looked a bit, I don't know if he was just gassed by the end of the game because he's not used to like maybe playing this many games in succession.
Minutes or something,
you know, like or something, but he went to dive and he like barely got any distance on the dive to like go to attempt to make the save, and it went right by him,
right
like
past him.
Like it wasn't really that far from where he was even standing, like the ball. Like I know that it's very easy for me to criticize him, like sitting here in this seat instead of like between the goalposts and like seeing myself
the goalpost.
It's like
poster about the corner of this room to the
right,
corner
exactly,
so
and
you have a huge distance to go.
And I also am not entirely sure if maybe his line of sight was being affected by the fact there was someone standing in front of the guy taking the shot.
If he didn't get like a good jump off the ground,
right? But it's just like there was one that I saw, and I just it maybe looked like maybe his feet slipped out from under him while he was trying to dive. Because, like, when, like, you look for someone that's going to, like, clearly make a diving motion, but, like, they stumble or, like, they lose their footing and it looks really awkward when they do it. Like, they still do the dive, but it just doesn't look right.
Yeah, it doesn't look like a proper
Yeah,
dive.
it was kind of like that, where, like, it looked like he was diving, but, like, he didn't, like, dive in the way that you were expecting him to. He just kind of, like, dove to the ground. Like, there wasn't the lateral motion that I was anticipating. It was more of just, like, straight into the ground.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the hell was that? But...
No, I can visualize what you're talking about.
Yeah. But all that being said, he's done pretty good so far with filling in for Andre Blake. I don't want people to think that I'm just completely shitting on Andrew Rick right here. But definitely a moment where I think you can see the fact that, yeah, he's a 19-year-old kid. He's got a lot of work to go.
Yeah,
like
19.
Yeah,
he's not gonna be like who's a good goalkeeper, man. He's not gonna be like a.
He's not gonna be like a Hugo Lloris.
Yeah, he's not gonna be Casillas.
Yeah, he's not gonna be a Tim Howard for a long time. He's not gonna be someone that's gonna be a national goalkeeper anytime soon.
Yeah, no.
he's got a long way to go ahead of him, especially because goalkeepers are pretty notorious for developing later on. Because, like, kind of hard to be a really good goalkeeper if, like, you're 19 and your body is, like, still growing.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen, but, like, there's not a lot of short goalkeepers. A lot of them are, like, 6'3", like 6'5". Like, they're giants. So, I don't really know how tall this kid is. I don't know if he's still growing. Like, I don't really know anything about that. So, he could end up turning into a really, really, really good goalkeeper. But he's pretty far away, and it would be nice if they had Andre Blake back.
Yeah, I agree.
But one other thing we wanted to mention is just that Quinn Sullivan got another assist, so he's now up to 3, and I believe he's 7th now or 8th on the MLS assist charts or whatever
for the club lead for the club.
Oh, for the club lead,
the club history, whatever it is.
Yeah, so shout out to him. He's still a pretty young guy. I think he's only 20 years old or 21.
Yeah, he's still pretty young. Yeah,
the younger brother, Cavan's 15 or 16.
15 or
he's
like that.
Freaking like super young. But I know Quinn is still young too. I think he's only 20 or 21. So big, good job to him. Shout out to him and also to Michael Ua, because he got his 20th assist for his MLS career, tied for the 8th most in team history. And Kai Wagner continues to kind of kill it.
Exactly.
But besides that, let's move over to let's go across the ocean. Talk about a little
across the Atlantic.
Yeah, across the Atlantic, and talk about a little European competition. So most of the leagues have finished up now at this point.
Yeah, except MLS, but that's a completely different season. So.
But most of the domestic leagues in Europe have already finished. I usually think that the Premier League is the one that finishes last, isn't it? Like, all the other leagues usually finish like a week before.
Yeah, I think the Serie A finished on Friday or something like that.
Yeah, I think Bundesliga was already over last week.
Yeah, they usually all finish around the same time.
Spain was over, I think, over the weekend before. Or no, Spain may have ended the same day that England did. That may have also been the same weekend. But we have the automatic bids. Now, with the automatic bids, we've got from England for the Champions League, Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City, Chelsea, Newcastle, and Tottenham for winning the Europa League.
Yeah, because they won the Battle of Mid.
So I forget exactly how the group stage works, but I believe you can't have 2 of the same domestic teams in the same group. So that means, I believe, 6 out of the 8 groups next year are going to have England teams, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, I think there's
I think there's 8 groups, right?
There's no group stage. It's a table.
Oh, yeah.
It's a league table.
Oh, wait. Because
they changed it, remember?
There's no longer a group stage in the Champions League?
Remember because they changed it, one big table?
Oh my gosh!
Remember that? Yeah. Remember one big table.
What year did they do that? 2 years ago now?
I think this is the first year that they did it.
Or this was the first season.
This is the first season they did the big table.
Okay, because I was gonna say, like, based off of that, right there, like, you could potentially have 6 England teams in the knockout stage, which would be freaking crazy.
Yeah, I think like it's like the first 24 or something advance.
Okay.
Or like it's like the first 16 advance. Oh no, like the first 8 or something.
Get automatic bids, and then the rest have a playoff to go through.
Yeah,
right?
I think like 16 through 24 have a playoff to go through.
A one-game playoff to go through.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then the loser goes down to Europa League, and then
the loser goes to Europa League. Yeah, I know that.
So those are going to be the ones from England for the Champions League. Now we also have obviously more than just England in this competition. So we're going to run through the rest of the countries here. So the Italians, Serie A, you got Napoli, Milan, Inter Milan, Atalanta, and Juventus. And then going through to Spanish, La Liga, you have FC Barcelona, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, Athletic Club, and Villarreal. So, correct me if I'm wrong, Spain and England are the only two leagues that get 5.
Yeah, they get
five
they get the
automatic
5
bids.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they get the 5.
And the only reason they didn't get a 6th bid is because they obviously didn't have anyone win the Europa League. You also got the German Bundesliga. So from there you got Bayern Munich, Bayern Leverkusen, Eintracht Frankfurt, and Borussia Dortmund, which I probably butchered the correct pronunciations of those. I tried to do it in German so that, it would kind of like maybe appear like I had a clue what I was talking about, but I digress. You also have the Paris League 1 Champions League qualifiers, which is Paris Saint-Germain or PSG.
Yeah, PSG.
Marseille, and Monaco. And then outside of them, there's only one other league that gets 2 automatic qualifiers into the Champions League. And that's the Dutch Eredivisie, and that's PSV Eindhoven and Ajax.
So, it's Ajax, not Ajax. Not
it's Ajax. Ajax. Whoops. It's a real blooper for me right there. But all the other rest of the leagues that qualify only get 1, guaranteed spot, and I think the rest are all,
either
playoff.
I think they're just playoffs.
Right,
so.
Where you qualify for the playoffs, then you got to play, and I'm not going through all of that because could be another 78 teams for all I freaking know.
Literally.
So I'm just gonna go through the ones that have the automatic bids. So you've got Sporting FC from Portugal, Galatasaray from Turkey, which this is probably their freaking 20th year in a row making the Champions League from there, because I feel like Galatasaray is always in this competition.
Yeah, Galatasaray, Fenerbahce.
Yeah. And then you got Slavia Praha from Czech Republic League, and Olympiakos from Greece. And then for the Europa League now, you got 3 teams from England. You got Aston Villa, you got Crystal Palace, and you don't have Nottingham Forest.
You only have 2.
You only have 2.
Yeah, Nottingham Forest is the Conference League.
Yeah, Nottingham Forest is Conference League. Okay, so you only got those 2, and then in Italian Serie A they also have 2: AS Roma and Bologna, and then in Spanish La Liga they as well have 2: Real Betis and Celta Vigo. In the Bundesliga they have 2, and that is Freiburg and Stuttgart. League 1 has 2, Lille and Lyon. And then the Dutch Eredivisie and Portugal are the only other 2 that get automatic bids based off of whoever comes in second place in those domestic league standings. And that is the Go Ahead Eagles in the Dutch Eredivisie. Oh, wait, actually, they came in third because they get 2 bids.
That's a great name, though.
I know, the Go Ahead Eagles.
Go Ahead Eagles.
I saw that, and I was like, dude, no way. That's a pretty cool name.
That's a great name.
And you got FC Porto from Portugal. And they're usually always in this competition as well. So, the usual suspects basically are there.
Yeah.
Except for Crystal Palace. That's the only real name that jumps out as...
You don't see Crystal Palace as the team that's going to...
Right, and the Go Ahead Eagles. Which is kind of...
And maybe Nottingham Forest.
Which is kind of cool that, 2 out of the 3 teams that you don't see in this competition all the time are the Eagles. Crystal Palace Eagles.
Yeah,
And go ahead,
Crystal
Eagles.
Palace Eagles. So, you got some
Eagles representation over there in soccer.
Literally.
And then, do you want to talk about some of the transfer news that you said you wanted to go over for a little bit?
Yeah, because
I know you were digging around, looking at stuff.
Kevin De Bruyne going to Napoli.
And any idea on like the contracts or anything like that?
Well, they said it's a 3-year contract. And I'm getting all this from Fabrizio Romano.
He's usually pretty reliable.
And yeah, he's like the Jeff Passan of
he's the
football,
Woj.
So. Basically.
Like Woj bomb, it's a Fabrizio bomb.
So he's very accurate with his transfer he gets tweets and
stuff.
Dude,
he breaks like 17 rumors a day.
Yeah, dude's
like
insane.
How many agents does he have that call him per day, do you think?
He's got a crazy lifestyle. Like, I think he says like during the transfer window he sleeps for like 4 hours a day.
Yeah, I can believe it because like he's the one that's given like 75% of these transfer rumors. It's all from Fabrizio Romano.
He's giving out all the big transfer responses too, which is like crazy.
Dude, it's nuts. The fact that it's like all one guy. So like props to Fabrizio for being able to do it. But
yeah, the tweet that said. His lawyers are going to arrive in Napoli to finalize the 3-year contract. And apparently the president of Napoli said that he's already bought a house in Italy. So
who wouldn't love to have a freaking house in Italy?
You'd have to think it's a done deal.
I mean, if I had millions of dollars, I'd freaking buy a house in Italy.
It's not confirmed yet until he signs the contract, but
obviously
with the way that he reports transfers, it's most likely a done deal.
Now, one thing that I wanted to bring up before you bring up the Yamal thing, do you think that De Bruyne should get a 3-year deal? Isn't he already like 33, 34 years old? Like that's pretty old for a soccer player.
I feel like that's like gonna be this is gonna be like his last stint though.
It has to be.
It's gonna
right?
be his last stint.
This has got to be his last stint. He's probably not going anywhere else after this. Like he's probably gonna end his career with Napoli, right?
Yeah, I would assume so.
Yeah. So. Congratulations, honestly, to a freaking fantastic Premier League career. Like,
great
probably
career.
The toughest league to play in, and he was
probably one of the best midfielders in Premier League history.
Yeah. So, like, props to being able to do that, especially for as long as he was in. He was in the league for 12, 13 years?
Yeah, something like that, because he started with Chelsea. So.
Yeah, and he started as like a 19-year-old or something, because I think he started playing professionally in the Belgian league when he was like a 16-year-old kid.
Yeah, so he's been playing for
long time.
Very long time professionally. So.
Illustrious career, and honestly, it'll be sad whenever he does leave cuz like it's
coming up soon, so.
Dude, watching him play is kind of like
he's illustrious.
It's just like it's not to the same level as like a Messi or a Ronaldo, but like
But he's very talented.
It's special.
He's super talented.
Yeah. So, just props to him before you get to your Yamal point.
What?
Just props to him before you get to your
Yamal.
I know you wanted to
Lamine
break
Yamal is getting a 6-year extension from Barcelona. The fact that the dude's 17 getting a $700,000 a week contract is pretty insane.
Yeah.
You think about it?
$17K a week. So
700,000.
700,000 a week. So
talking about 700,000.
700,000 times 52 weeks. So what is 70 times 52 and then add 4 zeros? So 70 times
70
52.
times 52 and then add 4 zeros. 3640.
So 3
million.
3,600,000 at 17 years old.
Yeah, about 3 million a year for 1 year at 17 years old.
Louise,
oh
dude.
My goodness.
Man, that would be nice. Wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's super impressive, man.
Yeah. And then you also have something else written down here about Luka Modric.
Yeah, I heard from Fabrizio again that he would leave Real at the end of the season as a free agent. So.
And that's a pretty big deal too.
It is, yeah.
Any update or not update, but like Fabrizio give any detail as to where he would be looking to play, like league-wise or team-wise or anything? I don't know if it's going to be
retirement or what.
Okay, so he might potentially hang up the boots because he's up there now too.
Yeah,
he's like 35?
Yeah, he's in his mid to late 30s. So.
Yeah, so he's up there a little bit in his age as well. So if he does get another contract with another team, that's probably going to be his last year.
Dean Huijsen. What I don't know. Huijsen, Huijsen. I don't know, but he's from Bournemouth.
Oh, from AFC Bournemouth.
Yeah, so coming
Really?
from Bournemouth all the way to Real is
Okay.
very impressive.
It is pretty impressive. Wow. Okay. And I just want to mention real quick that for anyone that's been listening, you know that I follow Crystal Palace. What team do you really follow? Like, what team is like? Do you really have like a team that you really like?
I don't follow a team.
You've jumped on like the bandwagon for?
No, I don't
anything
really have
like
a
that?
team that I follow.
Or you just enjoy being kind of like
more enjoy like
a
watching
free
the game.
agent.
Yeah, basically.
Like you don't really have
well,
anything.
they don't
like,
see it, but I'm wearing the AC Milan shirt.
So, would you say that? Yeah, but what league do you really like follow the most out of like any league?
Premier League.
Right, and do you really have like a favorite team in that league, or is it just you just kind of watch?
I'm just following whoever.
Yeah,
I'm just watching, enjoying it. So,
all the listeners know that I love Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
So I got back into Crystal Palace in like 2014, I believe, was the first year that I really got into like watching British Premier League. So I just want to say that Eberechi saw a report that he might not be leaving the club. And he might actually be staying because they've put a $65 million pound price tag on him. I don't know how much that converts to like US dollars. Probably something around 72 million.
Who knows if a team is going to pay 75 million pounds though?
Right, and I think that the initial offering that they had gotten from a couple of clubs was in between like 45 and 50. So that's like a $10 million difference in what teams want to pay for him to what Crystal Palace would get for him. So they might potentially keep Eze because they've come out and said that they won't accept anything less than 65 or anything.
Yeah,
anything less than 65.
You said anything less than 65.
So I mean, if they truly aren't going to budge from that, I don't know if anyone's going to be willing to pay the 65 for him. In which case, he might actually still be on the team for next year, and potentially so will Jean-Philippe Mateta.
Yeah,
I've seen
that's huge.
A couple reports.
They're super impactful for Crystal Palace.
Yeah, and of course, he was going to be one of the guys that was very sought after for the fact that I think he finished with like 15 or 16 goals in the Premier League, which, like, if you look at the standings, that's like a top 5, top 7
that's a lot.
Striker.
Mohamed Salah scored in like the mid-20s or something like that. So
yeah, Mateta had like I believe either 15 or 16. So like he was a top. I know he was top 10. He may have even been a top 5 finisher in like the Golden Boot race. But you know, people obviously want that type of production, especially from the striker position.
Yeah.
So if they're able to hold on to him as well, because apparently he's come out and said, if he does want, like if he is going to leave and go to somewhere other than Crystal Palace, he said the only way he's going to leave is if it's a team playing Champions League football, so not Europa League football, Champions League football, and it would have to be going home to a French team.
Oh, because he's French.
Right.
Yeah, so
but
either like PSG or something like that.
The other problem is the fact that he wants to make the French national team for the World Cup coming up, which means he wants
the French national team is stacked.
Exactly. So if he wants to play on that team, he's going to have to play every single week and be able to perform every single week if he's going to really have any shot of breaking into that France national team, right? So that might give him more impetus to stay at Crystal Palace because he's definitely going to play every week at Palace. If he goes to Marseille or PSG,
he's not going to get a shot.
He's not going to play every week. He might be someone that plays in the league midweek when the Champions League plays, in which case you're going to a Champions League team, but you're not playing in it. Like you're going to be on the bench the entire time.
Yeah.
And if you want to make onto the national team, you want to be playing in those competitions to prove you can play with that level of talent.
Oh, they have a spot in the a continental competition.
Right.
So
he might just stay because it's better for his career prospects to stay. Not even from a financial standpoint. It's just better for his career trajectory if he stays at Crystal Palace. So if they're able to keep those two players while also bringing in like 5 signings to really like help with the depth of this squad to be able to perform in both the Premier League and the Europa League.
Oh, Europa League, yeah, not Champions League.
Yeah, the Europa League, then I think that isn't really too preposterous to think of. And one thing that Crystal Palace does have going for them is that they do have a very highly rated defender in Mark Gahey that a lot of teams are interested in. And could net them.
They'll pay top money for him.
Right.
So.
He could net them somewhere close to around 50 million in European pounds, which I don't know how much that is in US money, but still, that's a lot of money. 50 million European pounds. You can bring in 3 or 4 quality guys to your team with that $50 million that you just made. And historically, especially recently, Crystal Palace have been really good at identifying cheap talent for their defense and then selling them off for a much higher profit.
Yeah.
So you see it now with Mark Gahey. They bought him, I think, for like under $10 million.
And now they just made a $40+ million profit.
There was another guy a couple years ago, Joachim Anderson. They bought him for like $12 million. They sold him for like 20-something million. Like, they've got a good track record when it comes to bringing in guys on the cheap and being able to sell them high. So if they, are able to sell Mark Gahey and then bring in another defender on the cheap, I'm going to have pretty good confidence in the fact that that guy is going to give you some pretty close to relative production that Mark Gahey did at a much cheaper price. In which case, you got more money to go out and improve the rest of the team.
Which you're going to have to improve the rest of the team.
Right.
Buying the European competition.
And one thing that you need to do if you're Crystal Palace, please, Steve Parrish and Josh Harris, please be listening to this.
Josh Harris, dude.
Please.
We're relying on Josh Harris.
They need to keep Dean Henderson in goal. If they lose him,
clutched up an FA Cup final.
Dude, if they lose him, goalkeeper is one of the most important positions in any sport that there is a goalkeeper, and it's never talked about. Because it's the goalkeeper. It's not sexy. No one wants to sit there and talk about...
Nobody wants to sit and talk about a goalkeeper. They rather sit and talk about a striker.
Exactly. So, but like, the value of a goalkeeper is so important to a team. And Dean Henderson was phenomenal for them all season. And like, he's also he got a call up to play for England. If he got a call up already to play for England, that means there's going to be club teams, domestic teams that view him as a starter.
Considering he's starting for a national team.
Right, which means he might be like, oh, I can leave Crystal Palace, go to a potential Champions League playing team, and still be the starter there, while still getting the starting spot for Europe, because I'm still going to play every week at this Champions League spot. That's the one thing I'm worried about. Like, if they need to be able to hang on to him. If they can hang on to him, Mateta, Eze, bring in like 5 guys, I think they actually have a really, really good chance of going pretty decently into the Europa League. I'm not going to say that they're going to win it by any means because there's a lot of really good teams.
Yeah, the competition.
Exactly.
It increases drastically.
Exactly. And it's not like, it's not like the FA Cup where 3 weeks away from the final, you're going to be playing a team like Luton Town to get into the final. Like, no, you're going to be playing...
You're going to be playing a team...
You're going to be playing a team...
much higher...
You're going to be playing a team that most likely got knocked out of the Champions League.
Most likely.
Like, in order to get to the final of the Europa League. You're going to have to go through a Champions League team just to get to the final. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that they're going to make it to the final or anything like that by any standpoint. But I do think that they could maybe make it to the second round of the knockout stages. Not the round of 16, but the second round, which I believe the second round of the knockout stages is when the first fall-offs from the Champions League come. So then I could probably see them getting knocked out.
The second round of the fall-offs come after the group stage.
So if they could just make it to there and still have a very solid league season, the tricky thing for them is, what do you go for? Do you go for all out in the Europa League to try to catch lightning in a bottle again and win the Europa League or get really deep into it? Or do you go for the league, domestic league, where you finished in 11th this year, you made the FA Cup, you weren't too far out of... You were 12 points away from qualifying for Europa League just based off of your domestic league points. What do they go for? Do they go for the league? Do they go for Europa? Do they split it down the middle?
I think it would be a good idea to go for the Premier League.
I think that as well, but also it's their first time in continental competition. Do they really want to get bounced right away?
Yeah, but it gives them experience, and then maybe if they actually perform well in the league, they finish within the top 4 or the top 5, if they get the top 5 spot. But if they could finish in either the top 4 or the top 5, and they get a Champions League spot, that is definitely more impressive than finishing.
I agree, but I don't think that's realistic given
the current situation of how many better teams there are.
Yeah, like the fact that they finished in 11th. Like, you got to jump at least 6 teams just to make it to Europa League.
Just to make it to Europa League.
You got to jump 7, potentially 8 teams to get to the Champions League. Like, that's a very, very tall task to ask in just one season. You know? So
yeah, I got you.
I would be more... If they're going to go for one competition, I would hope that it would be to get into the Europa League next year through the domestic league. If you could finish in 6th in the domestic league, just in the EPL, I feel like that is something that's more sustainable for you to do than win the FA Cup every year.
That's a win for you. Because you're not going to win the FA Cup every year.
You're not going to win the FA Cup every year, exactly. But if you can get your team quality enough, like risen enough from this one FA Cup win and European performance to the point where you're now competing for that number 6 or 7 or like 5, 6, 7, or 8 spot in the table every year, that's much better than where you are right now, where you're 11th, but you won the FA Cup. Like, that's just lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
I'd rather have you be able to consistently compete for 6th or 7th place or 5th place even, if you want to be that bold and you want to be that ambitious. But you can't be... The way I view it is you can't just go all in on Continental League this year. You have to use this as a way to establish yourself in the Continental League as not a joke of a team. So you need to make a couple of good games, and it would be nice if you could at least make it past the round-robin play and into the knockout stages, at least the first game. But I don't think that should really be the focus of the team. I still think the focus should 100% be the league and trying to finish as high as you can, because the difference between the money you get for finishing 11th in the Premier League and finishing 6th in the Premier League is probably more money than you make from winning the FA Cup, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
You got to think about the TV revenue sharing and all that stuff. You make probably way more money from finishing in 6th place than you do from winning the FA Cup.
Yeah,
and
Nottingham Forest will probably make a lot more money now because of that.
Exactly. So that's my thing. To get the continued success, you need the money. In order to get more money, you need to do something more than just win the FA Cup one year. That only gives you money for one season that you didn't really have. You get into 8th place next year instead of 11th, you're able to jump up 3 spots. You just probably got yourself an extra $5 million.
Yeah.
Just based off TV revenue sharing alone.
Yeah. That's enough for one player.
Literally, that is enough right there to just pay someone's bonus that you needed to pay off, pay off someone's incentive that they reached because they hit enough goals for the season or had enough clean sheets or whatever. Like, you would rather have that money than... I think it's 2 point something if you win the FA Cup.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's literally double the amount of money if you were to finish probably just a couple of spots higher in the Premier League table. So that would be the smart way to go about it, and that would be the way to go about it if you want to have this sustained success and not just have this be one little blip of, oh, we appeared in the Europa League once in 2025, 2026, and it's now 2040, and we haven't been back since.
Yeah.
I don't want that to be the case.
Yeah, you gotta focus more on the league.
You gotta focus on the league. But
all right.
That was the only thing I wanted to mention.
Yeah, that's your league projections. If you want to bandwagon a team, go bandwagon Crystal Palace, and I'll see you next week.